How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? No more putting it off. Eric here, the urban farmer. A little heavy-hearted today. I'll tell you, we're going to start this one off. We're going to go deep for number 4. And if you paid attention at all to one of the first videos I made, I mentioned the reasoning behind my interest in doing this. Kind of is the state of affairs going on right now. I kind of just see crazy things going on around me that are alarming and disappoint me, to say the least. But I want to believe we're going to press through them, and I know we will, but it gets difficult and burdensome at times. But today, let me speak up. I'm actually going to look in the camera. I'm really bummed about this. I heard a news story. This is going to tell you where we stand today as a society. I couldn't make up a story that was sicker yet more relevant than this story, and I'm so sad that I have to tell it as a truth. There's lots of minors involved, so I'm not going to use any names or anything, but there was a husband and wife that had 3 kids. These 3 kids varied in age from early teens to, I want to say, 6, 7. There were 3 of them. Obviously, there were issues in the household. Needless to say, this is what goes down. The husband ends up killing the youngest kid. The husband and wife, probably fueled by some crazy drugged-out sexcapade, they decide they're going to leave their dead child there with their other 2 children, who are, I want to say, like 9 and 12 or something. Don't quote me on that, but very similar in age to that. And they just left them there, left their dead child in the bedroom there. Well, these poor kids were in such shock, and God knows what the parents had laid on them prior to this whole incident happening. These kids remained in their house with their dead, rotting brother for 1 year. And they went to school, and nobody could figure out that something was wrong. Dude, I guarantee I'm no fucking miracle maker, but give me 10 seconds in front of one of these kids and let me look in his eyes, and I'll tell you immediately if there's something that's not right. Much less if there's a dead child in his room that's his brother, and his parents left him a year ago, and he's been fending for himself for a year. I don't even know what to say to him, so I feel disgusted telling the story. I feel like it's wrong saying it, but I feel like if I don't reiterate it, and we don't think about it, and be disgusted by it together, like, it's pointless, dude. That kid's gonna die in vain. He's gonna be another fucking COVID nightmare that gets swept under the table during the, like, how, so I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not blaming anyone. I think the most tragic part of this story is, how did everyone involved get in such a sad state of affairs that this predicament was able to unfold in such a horrific manner? And everyone was in such denial that these kids continued to fend for themselves for a year and go to school. They had to have looked disheveled. They couldn't have held a conversation and looked someone in the eye. The fuck is wrong with people? People gotta buck up and just do what's right, and speak to each other and feel each other. You know what? The crazy part is, you don't even really need to like use your words too much. You ever travel to another country and you don't speak their language, but you meet some person who you guys hit it off, and you hit it off because you're able to communicate. You're able to, and you say you use charades or whatever. You're not even really using charades. You're communicating at that point almost telepathically. You and this friend that you have get to a level to where language kind of even goes out the door. And what's super unique, call me crazy, I don't give a fuck what anyone says about anything anymore. Because I'm certain that I'm not the standard for normalcy, but there is some crazy shit going on around here, and I'm not going to let anyone point the finger at me and tell me that I'm weird or I'm crazy or I'm odd for taking note of these things and raising a brow and kind of just disguise. I don't know, dude. I'm overwhelmed by it all, as you can tell. I hope none of this is an act. None of this is for. I don't care if anyone sees this. Somebody sees this. Who I don't have an audience per se. I'm looking for. I'm just personally outraged. I'm gonna tell you what. I've made it. This shit. I don't know what the fuck happened. A couple of days ago, I had some sort of. I guess the only English word I could think of is epiphany. You now twist it however you want. You say, "Oh my God, Eric's head. He's lost his mind." What? I haven't lost my mind. I'm a fairly well-educated person. Am I the most socially adapted and model for how our citizens should be? No. You get it. You get my point. But I mean no ill will. I wouldn't hurt anyone. I spend my entire life really kind of doing what I wanted to do, what made me feel good, but I knew was right, even though it made me look pretty shitty sometimes. Because a lot of times they just want you to just get in line, you little fucking quit causing a ruckus. This is just how we do it now. This is what you do. You don't have scruples, or you don't, the money machine, the employment, oh man. And I know it sounds like the incoherent ramblings of but this story has got me beside myself, and it's I feel like it was I know for a fact that it has had such a profound effect on me that it has kind of like sparked a resurgence in my zest for life and communication with people and progression of humanity. I just want everything to be okay and everyone to do it, but everyone seems so confused. But it's obvious. Why wouldn't you be confused? Because of all the confusion out there. But it's not confusing is the problem. They're making a confusing, fucked up world, and we're at a very unique point or juncture in our country's history where we're no longer the young buck anymore. We've had a little bit of time to mature. Economically speaking, we've matured big time. I mean, we're the world's superpower, but big decisions are being made that are steering our economy, that are steering our government, that are steering global business right now. That isn't some cloaked agenda that's going on. They're just real people, real humans that have amassed a lot of power, maybe not in an evil way, but in a capitalistic way. And with that typically comes an absurd amount of money, and money for virtue in ways because of the intimacies of facilitating your way through society now, and it just gets uber complicated, but it's money as kind of we know it has died. If anyone hasn't noticed, here we go. Subject number 9432. The global financial system and the collapse basically of interest. That's what's going down, ladies and gentlemen. If you had to boil down all this nonsense, what's going on is the private banks, which is how how the world runs. Private banks, private banking institutions, and private banking families essentially lend our country money with interest. What? And now the money system now obviously knows isn't based on any sort of a like the gold standard or any sort of holding that may have a value that somewhat correlates to the financial strategy that you put in place as far as currency goes, and quelling your population and getting things to work smoothly. But that's come to an end, ladies and gentlemen. The Bitcoin, you think the Bitcoin is just some fucking, whoa, the Bitcoin, this is weird, man. It's like a internet thing. Should I buy some? People are getting rich. This is, it's not about even any of that. That's neither here nor there. The people that were meant to get rich by it got rich, and there's some fortunate people that tucked in or that. But all of that is missing the point. The banks don't make money unless they have interest on money they loan people. That's how they make their money. With Bitcoin and digital currency and changing the way essentially the core barter system works in a capitalistic society, is going to squeeze out basically these old men that are pulling money out of thin air and then charging interest and pulling that out of thin air. And the funny thing is too, if there's some, like the Pew Institute does some researches on if you were to take all of the principal debt and interest owed at one time and amass it and compare that to the actual amount of money that was in circulation at that time, they don't equate to each other. I'm no economic genius. I can't tell you the exact number that correlates those two instances, but they're preposterous. They're ludicrous enough to where that's all I should have to tell you. The number is inconsequential. They don't add up. How's that? That's the take-home message. It's impossible. There's not enough money in the world. If everyone went out and worked it all up and gathered it to pay back all the loans, principals, and debt that's been put out there. It's a racket. It's a huge scam. We know that. Everyone knows that. This is not a epiphany video. That's commonplace. This is should not be eye-opening to anyone, for sure. But what is, I think, unique at this juncture in time is the fact that we now have these digital currencies. Now think about these digital currencies. They're exactly that. They're nothing. They have no value associated with them whatsoever, besides whoever's toting the rope for them. Some sort of superstar, some sort of intellectual. The best is if you get like that Russian dude